Well, I've been asking Fiona Cincotta, Analyst of City Index, what she thinks of the $1.75 trillion valuation.
Now, if we think about it, what we're actually investing here is sort of three businesses. You've got Starlink, which is the already generating a substantial revenue. Then you've got SpaceX, the launch business, which I think also has a pretty dominant position. And then there's also the sort of long-term optionality of Starship and the wider space economy. But I think what this is actually about is investors are paying today for profits which may not appear for many, many years or may not appear at all. And I think that's where we're seeing this as a bit of a trade-off. But I think, at that $1.75 trillion US dollar valuation, that does feel lofty. But it would also mean that basically SpaceX is obviously not just a rocket company. It would be one of the most important technology platforms for the next decade. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether the market can hold that.
There's also some really interesting features to this IPO, some would say controversial. For example, the dual share structure. Explain that to us.
Yes, so basically, ordinary investors will be with Class A ordinary shares, but Elon Musk will control shares which actually have significantly greater voting rights. So after the IPO, he's actually expected to retain around 80% of the voting power, which is extremely high. On one hand, this does give him the sort of the ability to focus on innovation without sort of being too distracted by, quarterly market pressures. But on the other hand, it does raise some concerns over sort of shareholder democracy. At the end of the day, investors will be providing capital, but actually have very little influence over decision making. But essentially, this is sort of a decision over whether you're going to be able to, or whether you want to buy into Elon Musk's vision, because that's very much what you would be doing whilst you're also buying into SpaceX. And it just really does go to show whether he is able to attract that attention, which he has been able to do so far. And also trust. There's a lot of trust here as well, even whilst he's in the position. Do we trust, or do investors trust Elon Musk enough to be able to hand in the keys to take these decisions? What happens if something happens to Musk? That is a big risk as well. But then it's also worth pointing out that on the other hand, there are a lot of very successful companies that were sort of founded by visionary entrepreneurs, and they have actually benefited from that strong founder control in periods of rapid growth. So there definitely are two sides to the equation. I would very much be weighing up the risks though involved, because they are quite great, it would seem.